and in our case, on our ability to continue to improve our businesses for the benefit of our customers and the communities we serve. However, our first concern, at least chronologically, is a potential government shutdown 2 weeks from now. Do I think the government will shut down? No. But I've said that before, and I was wrong because logic doesn't always prevail. So there is the exhausting potential for it to happen again. We know too well what happens when the government shuts down. There's immediate results to deal with, or immediate issues to deal with, and there's long-term impact. Whether it's the rollout of NextGen or the hiring of air traffic controllers, we are still feeling the impact of the last shutdown and sequester. For airlines, a government shutdown is not an abstract Washington event. It's a major business issue that disrupts our entire organizations. Canceling flights, stranding passengers and cargo, loss of revenue both for the airlines and more importantly for the economy as a whole. So like everyone here, we remain hopeful that Congress can reach an agreement that will avoid a shutdown and that the FAA plan that they have to have in place just in case there is a shutdown, which would slow the system to operate only with essential personnel, will not be required. This cycle of dysfunction in funding perfectly underscores the critical flaws in the current system and why A4A is advocating for air traffic control modernization. You cannot plan and execute the major improvements required to support the necessary growth and modernization in air traffic control when the FAA is forced to shift its focus to how it can shrink the system to account for congressional funding fits and starts. Even if there is no shutdown, absent modernization, we most certainly will face a shrinking ATC system despite the increasing demand for air travel. The reason? The FAA will only operate what it can do safely, a position that we fully support. That said, I want to take a minute to acknowledge our air traffic controllers. You're going to hear from Paul Rinaldi later. Their expertise and diligence, even as they are hamstrung with managing aircraft arrivals and departures with paper strips stuck to a board, a system that somebody came up with over 60 years ago, we are in the safest period of aviation. But our controllers, as do our crews and our passengers, deserve satellite technology now. If you can have it in your car, we ought to be able to have it in the air. Proponents of the status quo either don't understand or they misrepresent the data. They will tell you that DOT numbers suggest that national airspace delays are shrinking, and on their face they are. But that doesn't tell you the whole story. The reason they're shrinking is that there are fewer flights, so fewer flights equal fewer delays. Further, airlines are increasing block time to accommodate delays in the national airspace. If the airline has been forced to increase the block time because the flight is consistently late, that's not a sign of improved airspace. That's like giving yourself 90 minutes to drive from here to Reagan National and crediting the highway for getting you there on time when the trip should have taken you 15 minutes. At a time when we've seen countries in the Middle East and other geographies develop and invest in industry-leading commercial aviation, all designed to drive their economic growth, we're confronting the real possibility of shrinking flying and preventing the further growth of our industry. It's ironic in this nation, which has always been the leader for so long, that we've been unwilling to learn from others, confront change, and seize today's innovative solutions that would transform our airspace. We have two different aspects to this industry, very different aspects. On the one hand, we have the significant need to modernize our air traffic control system, and on the other, we have an industry that actually has transformed itself. This industry is in a place that we couldn't have imagined 10 years ago. Flying is widely accessible and statistically as affordable as it ever has been, as evidenced by the record number of people who flew last year. The model of offering customers a choice and enabling them to pay for what they value has allowed real airfares, including ancillary services, and I stress, including ancillary services, to remain 12% below 2000 levels. In fact, this year airfares are down 6% in 2016 after being down over 5% in 2015. As you will hear from the always provocative View from the Street panel, that's not necessarily a good thing. I like it because they can say better what we can't say ourselves. At any rate, on every metric you can imagine, flying is improving or airlines are improving. Recent DOT statistics confirm that we are improving in on-time performance, baggage handling, involuntary denied boardings, and fewer complaints. A4A's own commission customer satisfaction survey demonstrated that 78% of flyers were either satisfied or very satisfied with air travel. But don't take our word for it. You shouldn't. The J.D. Power and ACSI surveys came to the same conclusion, the latter reporting that customer satisfaction was at a 10-year high. This industry, as my member CEOs will tell you later today, is as competitive and as competent as it has ever been. Our members are investing in people, product, and service in ways we previously have not been able to. Who would have thought 10 years ago, when many were still recovering from the cloud of bankruptcy, that we would be able to buy the equivalent of a new airplane every single day for 2 years? It's pretty remarkable. And as you will hear on the innovation panel, it's not just all about buying new metal. It's about investing in improvements in all customer touch points, from the website and app to the airport lounge and gate areas. We're also investing in our people, in both hiring and in wages. Airline employee wages and benefits are up 35% since 2010, from $2.55 billion a month to $3.44 billion. And while U.S. employment numbers have gone up and down, airlines have been consistently adding to our workforce. May 2016 was the 31st consecutive month of year-over-year employee gains at U.S. Airlines, having added nearly 28,000 jobs since 2010. So, with things improving for our industry and our customers as they are, you might ask yourself, as I always do, and many of you heard me say this over and over again, why Congress is seemingly obsessed with returning to a regulated time when government controlled when, where, and how airlines flew and how much customers paid. And those of you who, like me, are old enough to remember, it cost more to fly back then, and there were very few people flying. Certainly not like it is today. Our closing CEO panel is going to later discuss further the regulatory overreach and why even most popular argument, getting rid of bag fees, for example, is actually harmful to the customers who are benefiting from both choice of airlines and from choice of service. You've heard us say many times before, it's a great time to fly. It really is. You know, I love to talk to people and they complain about this or that, they got stuck for weather, whatever. Okay, you're not going to California from Washington, D.C. for the weekend on a train or a bus, okay? If we couldn't fly, our way of life would be totally different. People need to appreciate that. We now view it kind of like a utility, I think, in many ways. Anyway, it is a great time to fly, and we would like to build on that. We hope a new Congress and a new administration will provide an opportunity for airline customers. As I've mentioned, we think ATC reform would be a major step forward to improving passenger experience, as Doug Parker will discuss in his keynote address. With airline leadership that understands the importance of balancing the needs of customers, employees, and investors, there's great promise for continuous improvement and make it an even better time to fly. Thank you again for being here. We look forward to great discussions this afternoon, both in the room and outside the room. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Holly Hegman, the founder and publisher of Plain Business Banner. Holly Hegman truly understands and loves our industry and reports about it in a no-holds-barred way, making her weekly report a must-read for employees and executives alike. Please welcome Holly Hegman.